Okay, good evening, everyone. I got to admit that I am super nervous today, but I'm very excited at the same time because of the person who is with us today. And well, as you all know, that our guest here is definitely now. I'm going to tell you why this excitement and the nervousness at the same time. Mr. Ahmad Quraishi is with us, one of the top Pakistani political talk show host. See, the nervousness, that's why that came in. Frequently appears on international media. So, yeah, and is an active columnist. He's a writer, a researcher on the Middle East, Pakistan, and Kashmir. Serious topics. So today, it is going to be extremely difficult for me to host this show because I've got a better person right there next with me. Oh my God, thank you very much, everybody. Ahmed, how are you? Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum Assalam. Thank you very much, Fatima. It's really good to join you. And
I
great,
am so
great,
glad. Thank
great
you so
series.
very much.
Love it.
You have graced this evening. I am so glad. And personally, as the senior vice chairperson, I would like to thank you so very much. This is a social cause, returning back to society. This is our target. And well, I've got to admit, Ahmed, you have just come like, it's hardly 30 seconds. And we have got Seerat Rafiq saying hello, and then good evening, Mateen Mazhar saying welcome, sir, welcome. And then Sharjeel saying assalamu alaikum, Nayab saying welcome, sir, and a lot of people coming in. So we will be moving with all these people. But let's start up the whole thing and let's hear from you. People over here know that our today's topic is going to be, how to use reading to develop personality. And you're probably the best person, the best judge of actually telling us about it. So, first, just please, let's start with your love for books, because that is what Read Pakistan is about. So let's hear from you your little story so that, we can know you better in a different way.
Right. Thank you very much, Fatima. And it's really thank you to Read Pakistan and to all of your colleagues doing a great job. And I've seen your previous interviews, really amazing. And yesterday's was really amazing interview with Walid Iqbal. And
Oh,
it
thank
was
you.
so, yeah, well, that was so fascinating to listen to him and his take, and it was wonderful. So thank you very much for having me here. So I will just be very quick, Fatma. I don't want to bore people. So I will not talk a lot. What I'll do is just say something short, and let's make it interactive. Let's hear others. Let's not just you and me, and let's hear others as well. So we'll make it quick
Yeah.
and fast. So basically, let me just begin by saying, everybody has anyone who likes books and anyone who has a relationship with books often describe their relationship with books as a love affair. So everybody has that thing for books. People who really like to read, and everybody has a story with books. How they got into it, and so I too have a story, a short one, nothing too long. I will not bore everyone who's here. So I'll just be very quick. Just a quick insight into two things: how I got into really liking books, and two, how that really helped me in my career, helped me in my work, and helped me do lots of things which I never thought that I'll be doing. And
Wow.
thanks to books and the insight that the books provided, I did it. So I'll just begin by very quickly about how I really fell for books, and basically it starts when I was 6 years old, and I was living in Kuwait City. I was born in the Gulf in Kuwait City, and we were living in this house, which is a sprawling house. I was the only kid in that house. Old types of Arabic style houses. I'm talking about the 1970s, and this was a big house, and I was the only kid in that house. And for me, there was a room at the end of the house, at the end of a valley that was very mysterious for me. And of course, when you're that age, everything is big and everything is haunting for you. This
Yeah.
room was the living room, and there was a cabin in that room with books. And as a 6 year old, I saw lots of books there, but what attracted me were not the books, it were the magazines that were there with the pictures on the cover. And I still distinctly remember two magazines, the National Geographic and Life.
Wow. Wow.
Life and National Geographic. And of course, I couldn't read at 6, but I was, as a lonely kid in a big house that has a lot of time on his hand, nothing to do, no kids to play with. For me, my daily dosage of imagination really came from these pictures on the cover of Life and National Geographic. And I'm sure you know both magazines, even now. I mean, we are now, of course, on online. Everybody's online, but anybody who's seen Life magazine or National Geographic, both of them rely heavily on fascinating pictures of people and
Yeah.
of places. Really very fast. So in Life magazine, you get to see all these really beautiful people, beautiful men, beautiful women, and beautiful lifestyle. And National Geographic, of course, is all about travel and exotic places and peoples. So for me, at age 6 or 7, to every day and be free and not have any kids really to play with, and this alone in this big house with my mom, I get to go into these pictures of beautiful people and beautiful places, and that really grew me attached. That was I mean, besides the toys, that was the only thing that really fired up the imagination of a little kid. So
Yeah.
thanks to that thing, and I still remember when I became like later on in my teenage years, I hardly remember a lunch or a dinner with my parents where I had lunch or dinner without reading something while eating a book or magazine, a newspaper or whatever, or just looking at pictures. And often my father would say you need to focus on the food because that's important. And but and I would tell him and I would thank him for getting me hooked and addicted to these magazines and pictures and the written word. So that's how I really started. And of course later on I went. We had the computer revolution. We had the PCs coming up before the 386s and the 486s, and I went into coding. And there was and I would have gone some other way if not for another tiny incident where this gentleman came from the UK who was a British Pakistani, a friend of my father's, who came to stay with a petroleum engineer. And of course, this is the Gulf region, obviously, oil exporting, and you had all these oil people, oil men coming to that region. So there was this gentleman with his, I think, wife or girlfriend, and they came and they stayed with us for like, I don't know, a month or two. So when he left a book in our house, a tiny little book, very dull, no picture on the cover, no picture inside, and just text and a hardcover. And it lay there in our house, and I remember up until I was about, I don't know, 12 or 13, when I could finally read a little bit of English. And with the help of a dictionary, I translate. Fatma, the title of the book is very interesting. It was "I Dare You." That was the only text on the cover. I dare you, and
Wait.
that's it. And of course, when you turned the pages, there was the author, and it was just text, 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 and you finished the book, a small sized book. And at age I think 13 or something, 12 or 13, I read that book. I kept seeing it since I was 7, since that friend of my father left. But I couldn't read it obviously because my English didn't help, and so I waited up until I was 13 probably, and with the help of a dictionary, I translated the meaning of dare. I mean, I could understand I and you, but dare, I really had. So I translate that, and I get it, and it really piqued my curiosity. I dare you, dare me to do what? And I read that book at that age, 13 or 14, and that's how I really got hooked to reading, because that was a fascinating book. It was a book by a guy named William H. Danforth. He was an American businessman, and he wrote that book, and he was a great guy. Later on, I learned one of his sons or grandsons became a vice chancellor of a big university. Another son or a grandson of his became member of U.S. Congress. So this was an accomplished person, very impressive. If you go Google him, William H. Danforth, you'd find he was born like 100 years before I was born. So like I was reading that book for somebody who had died in 1950 probably, and this was like the 80s. And so this book was really, Fatma, fascinating. It was a book, it was a call to action. It was a motivational book, amazing. It basically said that everybody should have a class, everybody should have an objective in life. It even taught me at that age, when I was 13, how sitting straight and having a great posture and walking straight and sitting straight really impacts your personality and gives you a certain look. And you need, whether you're a man or a woman, and you need to and it had a whole chapter on that, on how to physically conduct yourself as a man or a woman, and then a lot of things about how to deal with adversity in life and so forth. So really very fascinating. And that book really got me hooked into reading, because the prose, this was, Fatma, not one of those self-help books. This was a book written with very, very beautiful language. And it was simple. I did not really need to, consult my dictionary a lot, because Mr. Danforth, the author, wrote this book in a very beautiful and a very simple English. And it was not a boring way of writing. It was a very beautiful, very personal, and that also made me very much interested in communication. I often refer to that book to see how the author developed a connection with the people who are reading that book. And because I felt the connection, I felt a very, very deep connection with the author because of the personal style, the writing style. And later on in life, when I got really hooked to writing and reading and communicating and meeting people and convincing and influencing, one of the key things I always kept in mind is that we have 6 billion people in the world, or 7, or whatever the number, and everybody, of course, has their own different style of communicating, and there is no one right style. There could be multiple, hundreds of really very good styles, but one key thing that needs to be kept in mind is how you communicate and how you develop that closeness with your target audience, so that they can understand you and you can understand them.
Yeah.
And and maybe, Fatma, you can do that when you're sitting face to face with somebody, but to do that in writing, it's very different. So that's how I really got hooked to books, and that's my love affair with books, and it helped me a lot, in communication, in influence. Obviously, you're a lawyer, so you know how important it is to convince. And as a lawyer, you or me as a journalist, we are in professions, but really it's not about journalists or lawyers. It's really about everybody. Because if somebody right now is a teenager and he's living with his parents, he needs to convince his parents at some point in his life about his life choices. And for that, you need to have that skill. You need to convince your bosses. You need to convince people as you move on in life. So really, those are skills, and you get those skills, and you get the confidence. Of course, when you're reading books, you don't memorize the knowledge, but the fact that you have knowledge gives you confidence and makes you really confident when you deal with people. So really, reading is an amazing thing. And even now, I'm trying to instill this thing in my kids. With all these distractions, with the PS4 and Xboxes and so forth, and you have so much distraction. You have the YouTube, you have different mediums now, and I can't say reading is the only thing that really can help you, because really the audio visual medium now is very influential, and I can't say that, well, I should discount that and just rely on reading. So reading is important, but you need to be open to other influences as well. But reading really is the most powerful influencer, and it really strengthens your personality.
That's so true. Okay, in the middle that you were talking to me, Ahmed, I was just wondering because a very important thing you just said about the posture, about the way you speak, and how you communicate, and the body language. So I would come down to body language first. You think that your body language is well, this is different from reading though, but I'm going to put this question forward and then I'll move forward. So body language, how important that is, because you're a journalist, you would know this better than anybody. How much does body language play a role in communicating with people? If you can put it into percentages, that would be great.
Yeah, well, I would just roughly 50%. I mean, half of your communication is body language, 100%. I mean,
Yeah.
the other half could be the message, could be the circumstances, could be the environment, but at
Yeah.
least half of it, half of whatever you're saying or to others is really about your body language. There's no question about it, and
No.
it matters a lot. And one of the people that really gives you a good understanding into this without really explaining much is the current U.S. president, Donald Trump. I mean, Trump is this is a guy who probably won elections mainly on the power of his body language. I mean, he's a businessman. He's not into politics. He's not into, but he really got where he is now. Surprise, surprise! Nobody expected it because of his
Yeah.
body language. And I was one of the very few people, by the way, in Pakistan, even when I was at that time, about 5 years ago, I was doing a TV show 4 years ago, and I was one of the few people that, and I was telling everybody, please do not underestimate this guy. Will is very close to winning. Do not understand because he has what it takes. He's very, very convincing, more convincing than many of the people who are standing up against him. So, body language, the way you conduct yourself, is as important as the message you're conveying. No question.
Oh, wow. Wow. This is impressive, Emma. You were saying it about Trump when he was not even elected. Okay, fine. Okay, we've got a small question from Aisha. She's just here with us because these are live. So, I have to be, as I told you before, that we'll be taking questions in as well. So Aisha says, can book be an alternate for a hard book, as in a hard copy? Can an ebook be a replacement? Actually, that's what she wants to ask you.
Okay, Fatma, just to understand quickly, a
Yeah.
replacement to what?
Okay, so she says that a hard copy, can that hard copy be replaced by an ebook? Because now we have
Okay,
so much
okay, yeah,
technology involved in
true.
everything, especially books, that we have so many ebooks now that people are usually going to, like you said, that technology has sort of superseded a lot. So now the point is that she's just asking, after listening to you, she's saying that okay, can an ebook be a replacement
Yeah,
for
yeah,
a hard?
that's something I struggle with personally, and I finished a book which was an audiobook, and it was the
Okay.
first experience for me. It was a huge book. It was like about 500 pages, and I enjoyed it. I thought that I will be because I love the feel of the book in my hands. I really enjoy that. You know,
Yeah.
it's very personal, and I'm sure you felt that as well. And everybody who likes books, and same thing with the newspaper. I don't enjoy reading articles as much on the cell phone or the laptop as much as when you're holding the paper. But I tried
Yes.
the audiobook and I loved it. It was really good. It was different. And so is the ebook. But I think it cannot replace the hard. I mean, if you
No.
really really like the book, you need to have a hard copy and not just a soft. But I will not discount the ebooks. Ebooks are really very very useful. There's no question.
Same.
And so are the audiobooks as well. Audiobooks are amazing as well.
Okay, Aisha, so I think the answer to this is that both of them are important, and obviously you enjoy both of the obviously both of them have different genres, so you're going to enjoy both. So try not to mingle with this approach. Just go for the ebooks and go for the hard copies and be happy, keep reading. Okay, so okay, Amit, we've got a comment from Sirat Rafiq. She says, knowledge never goes, can take away from you. Reading books help you to understand and know about various concepts, tools, and resources. And this is something no one might be aware of. We are better equipped to face challenges in our life. And okay, Sirat, so I'm sorry, but I can't find the questionnaire, Sirat. You have to put up the question. I'm so sorry for this. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to, there are a lot of comments coming in. Just quickly telling you, Ahmed, that there are a lot of people with us right now. Muhammad Israr says that I'm watching this and I'm loving it. And then Akif Sumru says in personality development, how can we, now this is a question, I'm sorry. So Akif says in personality development, how can reading books influence in a good way, in a better way?
The beautiful question. I love this question. See, the most impressive men and women who can influence are the ones who can tell stories. I mean, even if in your receptions and weddings and gatherings, the most interesting people are the ones who can talk about things that are happening or developments or issues, and that knowledge really comes from exposure. And there are only two ways you can get exposure. You can either travel a lot, that's one,
Yes.
or you can read. See, it's only one of two ways. There's no third way. Maybe a third way is YouTube, but how much are you going to watch? I mean, YouTube is also one way where you can just sit in your room, not get out, and get to know everything about the world. There's no question about that. But basically, it's two things. It's either travel that really gets you to know the world, or it's reading. And reading really gives you the knowledge, and that what makes you an interesting person. And even let's take how do you think Prime Minister Imran Khan or even Trump can stand there and during a TV, I don't know, interview or a rally and talk for like 30 minutes or 1 hour? How do you think they really do it? Yeah, they do it
Until
because
listening.
they read a
Yeah.
lot. They read.
Yeah.
There's Trump, for example, and I was checking his background, and I've done a lot of. Interestingly, I was reading his books way before he ran for this election. I mean, I'm talking about a decade ago. I read lots of people don't know this. Trump wrote probably 5 or 6 books. Uh,
Yes.
either wrote them himself or somebody ghostwrited those books for him, but it was based on his own sayings and experiences. And those were amazing books. And when I went through them, I realized that this man has something. And whether you agree with that, whatever he has to say or not, but he has something and he has convictions. And I researched and I saw some of his older interviews, and he has this consistency of views, and he has the same views that he had when he was 25, when he was 45, and now when he's 74 or 73 or whatever. So the point is, when you see Trump talking for like an hour during a rally, or when you see Imran Khan talking for an hour or half an hour and consistently remaining interesting, whether you agree with him or not, that's not my issue. But he remains engaging. How he does that? Because these men have really read. They read a lot. Because reading really gives you the impetus, the motivation to say something. Because reading gives you knowledge, and you feel like you have something to say. And you feel confident enough knowing that you really went through a process of learning. And imagine somebody who's sitting in front of you and who starts talking, and you tell them to speak for an hour, for example, and they've never read a book in their lives. I mean, they have nothing to tell. What are they going to talk about? So reading does have a direct impact on how interesting you are, and how and what kind of ideas you have. And it really all comes out. Fatma, I'm sure you felt it yourself when you were in your first, I don't know, gatherings or parties with friends, and you have nothing to say. It really comes down to what you read somewhere or some
Yeah.
interesting thing that you learned from a book. It matters a lot. It impacts your personality.
It does. It does. You're so right about that. You are perfectly right about that. Because just recently, I'm not very good at reading Urdu. So I'm just a bit weak, which I don't think it's a very good thing. So I'm really, developing this habit of reading quickly, because I can read Urdu, but I'm not very nice at it, not really fast at it. So I think that should be the thing. So I was just recently, I finished off Shahab Nama. in audiobook. So it was quite a book. Obviously, it's quite big. And when I was done with it, I had this, altogether new window, new horizon open in front of my eyes. And the best thing was that I was flabbergasted that I was missing on something. I wanted to read Shahab Nama at least like 10 years back, and I couldn't do it. And
Can I ask you?
why?
Can I ask you a question? Can I reverse the role? Can I ask you a question here?
Oh my
Because
God, it's not going to be really tough,
yes,
right?
okay, okay. It's a question about the book. This book, Shahab Nama, because I have the book in my library at home, and I have gone. It's a huge book. It's, I don't know, 1,000 pages or something, and it's a huge book. And I haven't read it. I have it for the past 10 years probably, and I keep reading like a couple of pages every now and then because I could not get myself to finish and read a book from cover to cover because it's so huge. So my question to you, and I know it's about history and wisdom and experiences and the stories. So, what was the most interesting thing that you found in Shahab Nam for those of us who have not read the book yet completely?
Okay, so two things which I thought that, they really, first, number one, was the candidness. It was so candid. Everything was just there. And he was, so Qudratullah Shahab was actually explicitly clear about everything he was saying. He was sure he could quote. There were references time and again. And even if you could not remember them, you can always go back to the text and see and connect. And then secondly, well, this is going to be a little funny, but Ahmed, interestingly, there's this chapter about this very horrible experience that Qurazullah Shahab had with this. It's a sort of a horror story which he actually narrated. It's happened to him, and I believe that he's telling the truth. But because people usually don't believe in ghosts and spirits, so it was something that actually got me really, I don't know, it really got hold of me. And so, so yes, Shahabnama is candid. It's wonderful. The language is, it's beautiful. And the beauty of the language is that he's being really straightforward on things. This is not about me, Ahmed. It's about you. Please.
One more question. One more question. Did the book Shahab Nama help you improve your Urdu language?
Yes.
It did. Okay.
Oh my God. No, you're not going to ask me an Urdu question now.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay, great.
Yeah, but sort of, the best thing was that when I was listening to it, it was that, so usually my mother has, sort of problem. She says, you should be better with Urdu. We all speak very nice Urdu and you're just very lame. And so I go like, yes, I do agree. So,
Right.
I could understand them better. So I think
Excellent.
I will.
Excellent.
Okay, so now, Ahmed, we are
I would
getting very.
I would suggest that you do an episode of Read Talks. Just you maybe a short one, like 15 minutes or 10, 15 minutes. Just
Yeah,
some highlights from Shahab Nama, because
I would
that's
love
one of
that.
those. Yeah, you should do that. Yeah, you should do that.
Yeah.
Really. I would love to listen to that because I'm
Oh,
scared
I
of
was
reading.
thinking about it.
Yeah, no, I'm scared. Lots of people, lots of the younger people today are scared of reading Shahabnama because it's such a huge, thick, huge book, and nobody has time for that. So if you can, like, in 10 minutes, can just give some highlights about it and why it's important, maybe the beauty of the book and some couple of interesting things from the book. That would be really very interesting. You should do that.
I think that's a wonderful. You got me thinking about it actually.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do, yes, this thing can happen. Yes.
Right.
Okay. So we're going to do that. But then, well, in that case, I would like that if that session is going to be there, then Anna, you're going to be there with me.
I will be, yeah. I'm going to ask you questions because I really, yeah, I would like to ask you questions. I'm not done with Shahabnama questions. I have many questions, but I don't want to turn this, like, into a
I know
Shahab.
you don't want to turn
Yeah,
it into a Shahab thing. Yeah, I understand that.
exactly.
Yeah, I know the Bimla Kumari ki Bechen Ru and stuff like that. I don't want people
Great.
to. Okay, but that's the chapter's name, by the way. So we have got a lot of comments. I'm replying back to those as well
Sure.
at the same time.
Sure.
I mean, This is wonderful. People love you. I mean, seriously. Oh, okay. So Muhammad Israr is saying that Fatima, are you afraid of questions? Our guest speaker asks tricky questions. Oh, that's a compliment. Ahmed is such a wonderful. So, Mr. Israr, actually, the point is that the person right here is an expert in what he's doing. He knows what he's doing. Hira says that interesting session, very impressive, sir. So that's you, Ahmed. It's very interesting, it's very interactive, and it's amazing. Binte Arif is appreciating, Faisal Azim, so many names I'll have to go through. So let's talk about books. Guys, love this session, it's so interesting, says Shamsur Rahman. So you're really being appreciated. I am so glad because,
Thank you.
well,
Thank you.
no doubt about that, people probably know you from even before, but this session, alhamdulillah, is definitely going to introduce a new chapter of you and your personality altogether. And this is going to
Sure.
be super. Okay, Emmett, so one
Yes.
question.
Sure.
What do you think? How much have actually books influenced the way you speak? Okay, I want that you should, because this is about you. So you think that the kind of books, and yes, also there's a B part to it. You think that if books were not there, you think you would be the same person and you would be the same Ahmed Qureshi, loved by everybody, and so you actually think that this could have been possible without books, or it was possible, yes, but not to this extent. So I just want you to be very peculiar about this question, please.
Yes, I was a very awkward kid, very shy. I remember when I was 10 years old, a friend of my mother's came to the house, and for the entire
Okay.
duration, that friend of my mom sat in our house. I kept hidden behind a door. I didn't get out, and my mom kept looking for me to introduce me to her friend, and I wouldn't come out because I was shy. And that's not just when I was 10 years old. When I was 20 years old or 19, a friend came to our house and met my parents with his new wife. And I was so shy really to come out that it was winter and I was out meeting my friends. And I knew that we had these guests in our house. I kept standing till midnight outside my house at a distance, waiting for the guests to leave so that I could come in because I couldn't really get myself to socialize. And so I was a really very awkward person. And let me just tell you, it's the books and it's the reading that really opened up my horizons and gave me the confidence to speak. And two things that relate to expression that I learned from the written word, from books and from newspapers. For example, I learned that the best, shortest, most smartest way of communicating in writing is to take a very complex issue and explain it in a very simplified way. And the best
Yeah.
people who do this, frankly, are possibly the editors and the reporters of the New York Times and the Washington Post. I'm sure you know, as a lawyer, that in America they developed a simple English, a new discipline where you simplify and where you take very complex issues, and that's how, for example, you write manuals for home appliances. You take very complicated devices and then you write manuals that are easy to understand that an ordinary person can buy and understand and operate. So this is a new a discipline, how to take very complex issues, whether it's a foreign affairs, international relations, whether it's a religious issue, whether it's a cultural issue, whether it's something in English literature or any other literature, and you present it in a simplified way so that an ordinary person who's not an expert like you in that subject can understand and can relate and get attracted and maybe buy that book or read that article. So this is an art. This is an art. And I learned that only by reading people who write in that way, who simplify very difficult things. So for example, Thomas Friedman is a reporter who now became very senior and became a columnist for the New York Times. And he knows very complex history, and he knows very complex geography, very complex things, things that take pages and pages and pages of writing. But what he does is that he simplifies a very, very complex incident that happened, so difficult, with so much history, but he simplifies it in 500 words. Very simple, in a way that makes you understand. And this is an art. Not everyone can do that. Not everyone can simplify things. And again, I come back to Trump. See, this is one of the things that made Trump very successful. Unlike other politicians, every other politicians would come and talk about numbers and budget and figures and law and legal things. Very difficult. Ordinary people wouldn't connect with that. But Trump came and he talked in this very simple way. From a Pakistani example, if Pakistanis are listening to us, and majority of them, of course, definitely are, all of us here are Pakistanis. So for those who are in Pakistan or who know Pakistan, Hamid Mir, for example, my colleague, and he's a friend of mine, and he is my colleague. Hamid Mir is very successful as a TV anchor, whether you like him or not. I disagree with many things that Hamid Mir says, and I agree with many things that he says. I agree and disagree. He has his opinions. But one of the reasons why Hamid Mir is very, very successful is because his communication is simple. He takes the most difficult issue of the day, the most difficult thing that happened in the Supreme Court, the most difficult thing that happened in the Parliament, and he simplifies it in his introduction. Go check every video of his show, and just check the first 2 minutes, the intro, the introduction of his show, and you'll find that whatever the issue of the day, no matter how complex it is, he will always simplify it. And that's why he's a hit. So I learned how to simplify things because I read, and it impacted me in communication. That's one. And number two, I learned how to develop confidence and how to learn and how, see, okay, let me stop and let me not talk a lot by giving this just one example. I learned that no matter how good you are in writing, and no matter how impressive your writing is, when it comes to talking face to face to people or via video like we're doing right now, you cannot be reading from a written text, because the verbal communication has to be very different. It has to be personal, it has to be physical, it cannot be written. If I were here to sit, and I wrote something, by the way, just to organize my thoughts for this session. If I sit right now and read what I wrote, you will be bored, and I will be bored, and everybody else will be. But where did I learn that? I learned it because I read somebody who did this, and he gave me his experience. So instead of me going through that experience and learning maybe 20 years later down the road, I learned it earlier because I read that book. See?
That's wonderful. That is so true. And yes, you are super right about that. But 500 vocabulary books, you can have Shakespeare and you can read Shakespeare with 500 vocabulary books or 600 vocabulary books. So yeah, a difficult topic turned easy. I think that's the key. It's one of the keys to success. And yes, you're perfectly right about that. We have some questions coming in. So we have seen reading. So this is Azim asking you, Ahmed. We have seen while reading books that we unconsciously, this is interesting, unconsciously adopt the personality of our favorite character. But sometimes it goes negative for us. So what should we do to avoid it?
Wow, this is so beautiful. I mean, this tells you that Azim is a real lover of books and he gets influenced by, and everybody does. It's so true, Azim. I fully I relate to your experience, because when I was reading that book when I was a kid, I Dare You, William H. Danforth, I really became one with William H. Danforth. And when I watch Mission Impossible and I see Tom Cruise, I become one with Tom Cruise. It really becomes personal, and that's why Tom Cruise is successful. See, it's not just about books; it's even about the visual medium. So if you're natural, If you're real, you connect and you influence and you're powerful. There's so many actors, so many actresses around, but Tom Cruise is among those who are really very impressionable because he connects, and the same goes for people who write. So for Azim's question, how to sort of keep a distance, I don't think you can do that. I think you should allow yourself to become one with the subject that you're reading, because that's the only way that you can. If you live it, that's how you'll take it in. And obviously, once you close the book and you've done the reading, you'll be back to real life. So leave it to that process of ending that whatever you're reading to return you back to earth. But while you're at it and while you're going through it, enjoy it. And what better way to enjoy it than to become really one and attached with that subject that you're reading?
No, yes, it's an altogether different experience, and we all need that. Imagination plays its all due role.
Oh,
We have
one, yes,
yeah,
true.
you can say that because you've
Yes,
experienced this in childhood. Amna is asking a question, Ahmed. She says, "Sir, can you please recommend a book that relates with the current dilemma that we're facing regarding freedom of expression, especially the verbal expression and art of engaging the audience, and building habits that are intimidating, but necessarily such practicing gratitude and thoughtfulness." So I think she wants to ask about, she wants to say that in the
yes,
current dilemma that we're facing regarding freedom of expression, especially the verbal expression and art of engaging the audience.
yes,
Okay.
yes. This is. Let me give you
Journalism
a very yes. And Fatma, what's the name of the person who asked the question?
This is Amna Ijaz.
Amna. Yes,
Yeah.
Amna Ijaz. Amna, that's a beautiful question. And let me give you a wonderful lesson that I learned from someone else. And
Yes.
it's especially pertinent for our society in Pakistan because we have so many limitations. You cannot talk
Yes.
about so many things. You cannot talk about, in politics, in religion, in culture, in society. We have so many red lines that you cannot cross in Pakistan. And I feel it deeply because I'm a journalist and I want to talk about so many things that I can't because of these limitations. You don't want to offend people who are too religious. You don't want to offend people who are too liberal. You don't want to offend people who are pro men, who are pro women, who are whatever. So let me just give you a wonderful lesson that I learned from somebody else. Somebody, and I'm forgetting who exactly, but just recently I was listening actually to them, not reading, and they said, you will be amazed, and this is a lesson, and listen to it carefully. It's very interesting. They said
Okay.
you will be surprised by how much you can say, no matter how sensitive it is. You'll be surprised by how much you can say and convey if you do it in the proper way. If you do it in the
Wow.
proper way. So the
Um,
point is, you can beat every type of censorship if you convey it and say it in a way. So you have to. It's only a trick. It's about finding the right way of conveying it. You may not be able to say it very directly. You can turn a little left, a little right, and then come roundabout, or go a little under and then come up. There's a way. There's a way, no matter if it's a matter of religion or it's politics, it's a social thing, it's even a taboo, one of those taboo subjects that we have, and we have so many in Pakistan. You can say, so that person basically was saying, just find the right way. And that was one lesson. And I conclude by a second lesson, and that is, you can say the most difficult thing in the world if you add some humor to it. You can get away with saying the most outrageous thing, whether it's religious or it's political or whatever, if you add a little bit, a tinge, a little bit of humor to it, and you can get away with saying whatever. And that's why even in Pakistan, we have in our media, for example, and I admire lots of people, and there's so many people who get away. For example, I'm sure everybody knows Suhail Raich. Suhail Raich
yeah.
is a well-known journalist. Obviously, he's a He's a veteran journalist of Pakistan, and I think he's a very, very senior editor right now with the Jung Group. And Suhail Varaich, everybody knows, he says the most outrageous, impossible things in our politics. He says them, and he's an amazing guy because he says those things both in person, in videos, on TV, and also in writing in his columns. And he uses a simple trick. The same thing that I told you. Two points. One, a little bit of humor, and two, roundabout way. Find a way and add some humor, and you'll get away with everything.
Yeah. Perfect. Ahmed, we're just so little on time. I'm sorry. We have another question from Ishpati. Okay, Ish says, what should we do to develop the love for reading book according to you? So as per you. So you have to be very specific about how you would take it, not generally.
Okay, so how I develop a love for reading.
No,
is that
what should they do? As in, what should we do to develop the love for reading, as in altogether?
Right. Beautiful. Very nice.
Yeah.
Romantic. Yeah. I'm sorry. And who's the person who asked the question?
Ishpati. Okay. Ish.
Okay. I'm not sure I heard.
I know it's. I'm sorry, but I can't see the picture.
Okay, it's okay. It's okay. Let me answer the question. I heard Bhatti. It's Bhatti Saab, whoever it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me answer. It's very simple. Sometimes our lives are too busy these days, and with cell phones and calls, and you have to eat. We're working on our cell phones, and we're so distracted that we need to find time to read. And I myself, I find it very difficult to sort of get myself now to finish a book. It takes longer. It takes much longer than it used to. So to answer this question, my answer would be, if you want to train yourself to love reading, romanticize it. What do you do when you want to engage and develop a relationship with your partner? Number one, you find time to see them. And number two, when you see them, you make sure it's a romantic environment. It's either in the park or in a nice coffee shop. There should be some music. So do the same thing with the book. Sit with the book with a cup of coffee. Make it romantic. You know what I do? I put on YouTube on TV, and I pick up one of those lounge music videos, and I turn on the lounge and I let it play, and I sit and I read, and maybe I do something, and maybe I bring some chips or some drink, something that I really enjoy, like Red Bull or something else. And so I create an environment. I treat the book as if it's my partner. It's somebody that I'm spending a special time with. So you do that, and you create that environment, and you will develop that liking because you'll enjoy the experience. Because reading a book is really not just about reading words. It's really about the experience. It makes you feel intellectual. Do something. Pick up a book and just go to a coffee shop and go with nobody, sit alone, order a coffee, sit for 2 hours, just read a book. Maybe you will not enjoy the book. Maybe you'll enjoy the ambience, the atmosphere, but it will create a connection between you and reading.
That is so true, Ahmed, because this is something that people don't understand. We need to communicate. We need to connect with the book. Take them as like whenever we read quotes, we always say a book is a friend. So simple quotes like these have real wisdom behind them, because a friend, what does a friend do, and what do you do to a friend? These things are really important. And yes, I think this is brilliant. There is this person right here, Ahmed is saying, I'm sorry, she is saying, yeah, I'm really happy to see you, sir. I see, because I'm sorry, this is a comment, but I need to deliver this message to you. Sure. I'm really happy to see you, sir. I'm sorry, more comments are coming in, so this was just going up. I see you after a long time when you came on PTV World, and I was in 5th grade. Okay, Naila, but I feel really happy to see you. I am a big fan. Big one. Okay, this was the message. The end. Okay, now Sirat is asking something. She is saying, when we read, especially at the end of the day, our worlds become quiet, our brains begin to settle down and prepare us for the rest. Okay, readers have a much easier time falling asleep at night. Who doesn't need a good night's sleep? I'm sorry, Emmett, I missed you for about, I think there was a gap.
Yes,
So can
yes.
I repeat the question, please?
Please,
Okay.
very quickly. Yeah.
Okay. So Sirat is saying when we read, especially at night, because I think she's person who reads at night, readers have a much easier time falling asleep at night because they read. Who doesn't need a good night's sleep? Okay, so this is basically a comment. She actually wants to know what you think of the best time for reading. Is it the night time, or do you just like you said, Ahmed, that whenever you get time you can go for reading? But she is specifically pointing at night reading. So
Yes,
your
I'm a
comment.
night. I'm a night owl, and I love reading at night. There's no question. There's a saying in many languages, but I read it in Arabic that reading at night and studying at night is a trait of the prophets, and it just shows you that people who read, prophets, philosophers, used to do that at night. But I also agree that when I read my first audiobook, I did it at night, and really it helped me sleep early. And I'm one of those people who find difficulty in sleeping, and so it was really very helpful. But when somebody gave me the suggestion to romanticize my book reading and maybe find time during the day, maybe an hour, just during lunch break, maybe, or some other time in the early evening, and go and sit at a coffee shop if it's a nice place, if there's a nice view. uh, that is also something that should be tried. So yes, you should read at night. It's beautiful. It's heavenly, especially if you're reading something really fascinating and imaginative, if it's a novel or something, a historical story. So it's really,
Yeah.
nighttime is the time to imagine. But also do try to experience reading during the day, sitting in the park or the lake or the coffee shop, for example. Experience that too. Do diversify. It's fun.
That is wonderful because yes, you need reading as in not just for the night, but for the day as well. This all is going to help you, muster up a lot of experiences, and all are going to be good experiences. We have Dr. Adil Irfan Rao here. There is no specific time. Best time to read is when you would love to read. Okay, this is, I think, as
Yes,
simple as
sure.
that. Just a comment that I would like to share with you. It's Zimmel saying this is a very interesting session. She would like to she would like to point at all the information and the knowledge that you're dispersing with us, and she says it's wonderful. And okay, Hira says your energy level is fantastic, sir. Okay,
Great. Thank you,
so
Hannah.
yeah. So Hamzan is saying it's a wonderful session. Hira again is saying it's a very good book, sir. Okay, so just one last question. So there's a lot of comments coming in, and people are really appreciating you. I'm really glad, Ahmed, once again that you have been with us, and it's wonderful. One question that I want you to give a message. Usually when people come to us, I have noticed, Amit, that there are a lot of people and they want to ask, okay, that's fine, reading is good, you should develop, because our purpose in Read Pakistan is to instill the reading habit in people. So when they come to us, they say, okay, because now we've grown out of that age. You understand where I'm coming from? Because see, Ahmed, you were brilliant enough and you were fortunate enough to have that experience of a young reader. A young reader is different from a person who is, starting to read or learned it later in life. So what happens is that you want to develop it. When people come to me, they ask odd questions. For instance, those odd questions, I'm not saying odd in a bad way, but odd as in different. Okay. So now, Emma, just a few questions that they ask me. I'm going to put forward one of those. One question that comes in is, whoa, I'm 30 years old, say, for instance. How can I develop, a habit of reading now at this age? So I want to put the same question forward over to you so that you reply in your own way. I have shared the answer with them, but I want you to answer to this particular question as well.
There's a lady judge of
Yeah,
the US, of the American Supreme Court, who died recently. She was, I think, almost 90 years old or something.
yeah,
And she was given this amazing funeral, and they put her her casket, her in a state in the U.S. Capitol building, and she was given this amazing, and she was a Jewish American woman, so she became the first Jewish American who was given this kind of honor after she died. She passed away, and she's remembered for her. She's from your profession, Fatima. She's a lawyer. She was a lawyer. So
yeah.
and she made a huge name for herself. And you know what I was surprised about when I read about her? I was
Yeah.
surprised that she died when she was almost 90, and people remember her for what she did after the age of 80. People don't
Oh,
know what she did up until 80. She's a hero, and she's remembered for her achievements and her judgments as a judge of the American Supreme Court after the age of 80, when she was appointed to the Supreme Court, or
my
she
God.
reached there or something. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly the whole details, but something to that effect. So imagine that her entire life before the age of 80 was one thing, but she is remembered for what she did after 80. And you're worried about, and you are worried about being 30 years old and how you're going to do it. Trump, for example, made this huge difference in the world and became a president at age 70. At
Yeah.
age 70, all his life he's been a celebrity and doing other stuff and businessman and whatever, never in politics. And age 70, he achieved something that nobody thought he would be able to do. Imran Khan, it's the same thing. All his life as a cricketer, all his life alone, one man
Yeah.
party, one man show, and he manages to come into politics and win elections. Whether you like him or not, he did it. Whether
Yes.
you like
Yes.
Trump or not, they did it. So at 30 is nothing. You can do so much. Maybe you can become the next prime minister of Pakistan. So developing a reading habit is one of the easier things. You can do many, many difficult things as well. So reading is not really that much difficult. You can develop it, start a love affair with it, go and pick up a book and sit in a stylish coffee shop, for example. Maybe you will not like the book that much, but you'll love the ambience. Maybe
Yeah.
you'll develop friendships with people who will be impressed by the fact that you're sitting alone and reading a book, and maybe they should join you, and you will have these new relationships in life. So developing a reading habit is really not difficult at 30. I mean, you make it sound like 30 is like you know, you're like too old now to develop a new
No,
habit. You're young. 30 is really not difficult.
I was a young reader, by the way, Ahmed, but usually people come to us, and because you're giving these seminars about reading and how to inculcate the habit of reading in you, and how to develop techniques so that it becomes easier and more digestible for you to, go through books. So usually what happens is, because as you know, Ahmed, the Pakistani society does not offer you too many incentives for reading, too many libraries. We don't have too many. That's the motive of Read Pakistan, actually, to focus upon things which are, say, for instance, books, and also, which is more important, is to instill the habit of reading in people. So what people do is that usually they come up to me and they say, okay, ma'am, so tell us the techniques how to develop reading habits at the age of 20, or say 25, or say 30. So for every person, and for every age group, the reading habits, obviously how to inculcate the reading habit.
Can I say? Can I? Yeah. Can I
Yes,
say something here, Fatma? If
please do.
somebody is if
Yes,
somebody is trying to develop a reading habit at 25 or 30 or 35, I would always suggest to begin with a book of a subject that's really close to their heart. Don't start reading something boring and something that will repulse you
yeah,
and push you away from books. So start with whatever. Don't be shy. If you like Batman or Superman, start by
yeah,
getting a book on Batman or Superman and start from there. Because I developed my love for reading because I loved pictures on the cover of Life magazine and National Geographic, and I followed that, and that's how really pulled me in to read other stuff which is more serious and boring, and maybe so always go and start with stuff that is close to your heart, no matter what it is. Don't be shy. Whatever the subject is, no matter how silly or whatever people think about it, do it. And start with things that are closer to your heart.
That's so true. Fiction has its own impact and fiction has its own. So people also
Yes.
ask that, which is related with what you have just said, Ahmed, that, so fiction or anything that is interesting or close to your heart, please go for that. So that's one thing. And now, there's just one last question that, yeah, by the way, you're getting a lot of positive remarks, good remarks, and appreciation
Thank you.
from people.
Thank you.
And
Appreciate
one
it.
last question, Emma, because over here, one of the people would like to know that, okay, the person's name is Hira, and she says, which is your favorite book, as in, which is a good book for you, your favorite. And it's a
Lots of
tough
books.
bit.
Yeah, so lots of books. Let me just give you two or three books very quickly. I learned. I was lucky to learn a new language from a very young age because I was in a different country and I went to their schools. So I learned Arabic from a very young age. And I discovered it just so happened during one of the summer holidays. I was bored and there was not much to do, and I think it was Ramzan that summer. So out of looking at every our elders reading Quran and everything, I started reading Quran, and because I knew I speak Arabic and I studied in Arabic schools, and
Yes,
and
Masha.
so when I read Quran after our summer holidays were 4 months long. So I read the Quran in 4 months. And I went to school. And suddenly I found my Arabic language teacher uh, praising me in front of the whole class and being very impressed with the way I deliver my Arabic and the way I write my Arabic. And one day he just asked me, "How can you do this? I mean, you're not a native Arabic speaker. You're a Pakistani. Does your father or mother speak Arabic? Are they?" And I said, "No, they don't speak at all." And then he said, "How did you learn this Arabic?" And I was like, "I don't know." I was surprised myself. And then he asked me a question. He said, "Did you read the Quran by any chance?" And I
Wow.
said, and I remember, I said, "Yeah, yeah, wait a second. In the summer holidays, I read the Quran a lot, a lot." And he said,
Wow.
"That's it." He said, and he gave this advice to everybody in the class. He said, "Whether you understand the Quran, whether you don't understand it, whatever it is, but there's something in the Quran, in that book, because of the language, there's something in it that if you repeatedly read it correctly, it will train your tongue and it will make it very smooth." I don't know, but I went through it myself, and it really opened up. I would say it untangled my speech. It untangled my tongue, and it helped me make my speech and my spoken word smoother. So there is this magic in this holy book. There is in Quran. There is this thing. Oftentimes, because I also do some TV shows in Arabic, and oftentimes I do keep reminding myself, Ahmed, don't forget this weekend to read some Quran. It's a good thing to read the Quran for us Muslims. It's good. It's a religious thing. It's a good thing to read the Quran as a religious thing. But even if you're not religious, let's say not everybody is a religious person. So even if you're not a religious person, read the Quran, because I keep reminding myself, Ahmed, read the Quran because it will help me in my next interview in Arabic for so and so TV channel, because Quran really makes you. So there's this magic in this book. So
Wow.
that's one book, Quran. It has that magic, whether you believe in that or not. But it only helps if you can read some Arabic, if you can do that. And most Pakistanis can, because Urdu, Farsi, Arabic, it's all the same almost, in at
Yeah.
least in alphabets. At least in alphabets. So that's one thing. And second is, there's so many great books, but I would recommend everybody to read I Dare You. I Dare. It's a very small book. It's about 100 pages or 150 pages. Not too long, but I tell you one thing. You will thank me for reading that book. It's an amazing. It will change the way you look at yourself. The book is about you. It's not about him or her or somebody else or the author or history or stories. It's about you, how to become the best you. And I know there's so many self-help books out there. I know, and I read many of them. I love them because they're really very helpful. But I Dare You is a class. It's because it was written by a very classy person. Very classy
Mhm.
person. A simple line. So do read I Dare You if you get a chance, and it's not available in bookstores very easily. Probably you'll have to get it from Amazon.com, or if you have somebody who's living in, especially in the U.S., you can get it from there, or probably Dubai, you can get it from Dubai as well. And one more book also you should read. Again, I love that book. It's called The Art of the Deal. It's by Donald Trump. And I know lots of people in here hate Trump, and probably Fatima, you're one of them. But the fact of the matter is, that, yeah, that book by Trump, The Art. First of all, the title is amazing. I didn't know who Trump was 10 years ago. I had no idea who Trump is. I saw a book with the title The Art of the Deal, and I said, "What the heck?" You know, Art of the Deal. You know, it's but when I picked up the book and I read it, it's although it's a business book, it's about deal making and how you succeed in corporate world. But the way it's written, it's amazing. It creates that connection. I read that book like several times. I read I Dare You many times. Sometimes I find articles in the New York Times, in not necessarily about politics. They could be about normal things. But I keep and I save those articles because they're so beautifully written. I want to emulate and copy that style, that simplicity, that ability to connect with the reader because they connect with me. I feel a connection. So Art of the Deal is one of those books. I Dare You, Art of the Deal. And I'm sure everybody has their own collection. And I will, Fatma, share some of these books on your Facebook page. And maybe since this is YouTube, we're doing this live on YouTube. I
Yes.
will do it in replies to this video. I will add some of the books that I mentioned here so that it's easier
That,
for people. And maybe I will also reply to some of the other questions that maybe you did not get the time to ask
yes.
and share here. I will try
No.
to reply to some of them.
Yes, please do that. You've nailed it, Ahmed, I must say. And I am going to thank you for telling me this book, I Dare You, after I'm going to read this. But first, I have to thank you so very much for your time today, Ahmed. I know you have a schedule which is completely packed, and I know it for a fact. But thank you so very much for extracting
Not really.
time.
I'm really free this weekend. Really, not at all. Thank you very much.
Okay, then, oh, then good for me and good for,
Yeah, thank you
us,
very much.
and
Thank
for
you to
all the
you, and
people.
thank you to Ms. Tehmina Ranja as well, Professor Tehmina, who told me
Yes.
about Read Pakistan, and I was really very impressed. I didn't know about Read Pakistan, but when I checked your Facebook page and your website, you guys are doing a great job. So I'm going to share whatever good work you're doing. It's amazing work you're doing. We really need to get our people to read because, and let me just, if Fatma, if I may, before you conclude, I just want to say one thing. Uh,
Yes, please.
I work with an NGO that's working on Kashmir conflict, on how to resolve this conflict, how to bring peace, and in this region, and the whole thing about Pakistan, India, and so forth. So what when let me just tell you this thing, and you'll be amazed. We talk so much about Kashmir in Pakistan. We talk so much about Kashmir in Pakistan. But when this NGO wanted to establish a Kashmir reading corner, and not much really, just a few shelves with books in Kashmir, can you imagine? You'll be amazed. You'll be surprised that we went combing and searching all over Pakistan. We couldn't find like 50 books on Kashmir in Pakistan. So much we talk so much about Kashmir. We talk a big game on Kashmir. We talk so much about Kashmir, but there are not even 50 books written on Kashmir in a huge big country like Pakistan, 200 million people, 7 decades we're talking about Kashmir, and there are like, I don't know, 30, maybe 25 books or 30 books in Pakistan written in a period of 7 decades. Just 30 or 20 or something. There are no books. And let me conclude by saying, You cannot win a cause, whatever it is, if you do not master the art of the word, the art of the delivery. And that comes from reading. It comes from books. It comes from writing reports. Writing is very important. Our culture in Pakistan is based on speeches. Taqreere karna, speeches are good, good. It's important, but the follow-up work happens with the written word. It does not
Yes.
happen with the speeches. Speeches are should be the second thing. First you write, then you speak, because once you write, you have things organized. Before I come to you, Fatima, I was telling myself, Ahmed, you're so good. So what? You're gonna sit for 1 hour, just talk, just shoot off, just open your mouth and blabber, and it's just and then I discovered no, what I'm gonna say about books, I really have nothing. But when I sat for like half an hour on paper and I just wrote a few things which I will not even going to read, but that simple exercise of sitting for 30 minutes and organizing and imagining if I'm going to read what I'm writing, that gave me a whole structure of how or what I'm going to say. So I did not write everything that I was going to say here or what I said here, but
Of
trust
course.
me, if I show you that one page that I wrote, it's a summary of everything that I said here. Because I mentioned key headlines, and that helped me organize my thoughts. So writing is the key. If you want to win, even if you're talking about Kashmir, you cannot convince the world if you don't have the written word, if you don't have really imaginative
Yes.
articles, really with arguments, not those emotional stuff, and not just cursing and bad mouthing others or talking against
True.
XYZ. No, you need to be very structured. You need to have the ability to convey. That's very, very important. So writing and book writing and report writing and even writing your Facebook update, just a couple of paragraphs. If they're amazing, if they really capture, that's much better than a 1 hour long speech that people may or may not listen to in its entirety. Writing really, really influences and changes even in politics.
That is so true. These are golden words. Like I said, you've nailed it, Ahmed. And yes, we need to have another session for this. I have taken so much of your time. We're already,
Thank
we've
you.
taken extra 12 minutes, but
We are on
I'm
YouTube.
going to,
Fatma, Fatma, we are on YouTube and nobody is putting a cap on you. You can talk as much as you want.
no, I don't want to go, I don't want to drag you. I know that I wanted and I asked for 1 hour from you, Ahmed, and I'm very obliged that you have given us that, even more
I
than
have no
that.
problem. Yeah. If you have like a couple of questions or something, if you want, we can do that. Or better still, I will reply to
Yeah.
them in comments later on.
You can do that as well, but Emmett, I want you to commit for another session right here live so that you can't run away. Of course, I know you
Okay.
won't. But yes,
Yeah.
about Kashmir and about serious issues about writing. We've done this about reading. We can do this about writing as well. So we
Yeah.
can make a sequel to this session of ours, and we can make a sequel of writing and how the writing experience can affect our reading. And so we can, deliver another session on that if you would like to do
Yes, we
that.
can.
That would
Yeah, we can do that in the future. Thank you very much. This is my
be
favorite
perfect.
subject, so thanks for giving me a platform.
Thank you very much, Ahmed. I was, well, like I said, I was really afraid for going for this because I knew that I'm going to face a person who is definitely perfect at this, and I'm trying to challenge him. So, but thank you so
You've
very
done a
much. It
you've done a wonderful job. You're a natural. See, the best thing is if you're a natural, you rock. So you did it, better than many of the people who come on TV. Why? Because they're so like pretending to be something else and trying to be something else. And because you're a
it takes
natural and
I
you're
was
so
doing that.
knowledgeable, yeah, because you're so natural. You're a TV person. You're a natural TV person. You're a natural screen person. So you done it wonderfully.
Thank you, Ahmed. I am so obliged. I'm seriously grateful for all your time, and everybody over here, they loved you. Please go through the comments as well, and I'm
Thank you.
sure that you have enjoyed as well. But thank you so much for making it interactive. It was amazing. I personally enjoyed it. This is
Thank
one of
you.
the best sessions that I have personally liked and I have
Really.
personally
Thank you.
enjoyed. Yes. Ahmed,
Thank you.
thank you so
Thank
very
you.
much for your time. God bless you.
See you next
Take
time.
care.
Yeah, great.
Inshallah. Take care.
Take care. Allah Hafiz,
You
everyone.
too.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.